some plugins are actually the ones that are done professionally are much better, especially depending on what you might be using as a.
We're live, by the way. Did I did
Well,
I
of
do
course,
better?
we're live. I mean, yeah, well, that's.
All
Oh,
right.
we're live, so maybe I should put my hijab on.
Hijab. Why hijab?
Well, so that
Did
people
that switch over to males now, or was I not aware of something in Islam?
no, so that people wouldn't see my hair or what's left of it.
I wonder if a woman lost her hair from like cancer, does she still have to wear hijab?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I know for a fact that there are certain women who wear the hijab as a kind of a convenience, or they feel it's more convenient because they don't have to worry about how their hair looks like. So they don't have to put an effort in doing anything with their hair when they're going out.
Yeah. But I'm guessing most people hate it, and it actually kills your hair.
Yeah. I mean, if you're thinking about, I mean, we were not born with something covering our hair, which means that if there's something in terms of ventilation, in terms of
we weren't born with underwear either.
Yeah, true, and there are effects of this.
Yes, there are.
Yeah. Well, it takes something else. Like we wear shoes all the time, and if you look at people who just live barefoot completely, never ever wear shoes, the spread of their toes looks very different. The way that they grip the ground is different. It's a completely different thing. So yeah, we do have.
Which is why they now have shoes where it's designed to be where your foot is actually grabbing the ground.
Yeah, these are called barefoot shoes.
Barefoot shoes.
It's supposed to be good for you, but the training phase where you're transitioning from regular shoes to this is a little bit harsh, especially if you're doing exercise with it.
Yeah, but you could have had it from day one. Your first shoe was like that.
Yeah. I mean,
I think we do.
It has.
I think we do harm ourselves by wearing shoes all the time.
I guess so, but I mean, if you look at the lifestyle we have, I mean, it's going.
You can say it about so many things. Yes. Like I think it's horrible that we sit a lot.
Yeah.
And here we are right now, you and I sitting in these chairs. This is not good for us.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you started doing this standing up. I think that maybe you should have continued with that.
Well, I don't know if you remember, when I stand, I notice myself moving around a lot, and that it's dizzying for the people watching me.
Yeah. but in terms of the engagement and the kind of showing you, instead of just being this talking head, you can actually see a human moving instead of that. But
we move enough. We go. We move enough. Hey, there's my mom.
Hey, Rod, how are you? Also, it's wonderful having received recently the Unbelief newsletter and seeing that she was featured there.
Oh, I wonder if my mom knows. I mean, she knew it was coming out, but I guess not. I wasn't sure exactly when.
Yeah, no, it's great seeing some of her paintings featured there.
New one, yeah. We have a new person, Arlette up north. Arlette? I don't know.
Arlette, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, but isn't that a French spelling at the end? You know, like Chevrolet, or no, that's a totally different spelling. Never mind.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I guess. Well, Antoinette, you would spell it something.
Okay, it is that. Yeah. Okay, so today we're talking about. We should talk about how this came up, but you know, and I should have put this in quotes because we hear people say it this way. I'm thinking of leaving Islam, but, and that's a key word in this, but what should I believe instead? The but part tells me they don't want to switch until they know where they're going and they're happy with where they're going. Like, So it tells me if they leave Islam, they want to go jump into, let's say, if they like Christianity, they're jumping into Christianity, or I guess some people would be jumping into atheism or something like that.
Well, I actually tend to think that when it's phrased that way, people who might be leaving religion completely altogether, whether they're going into atheism or even to some extent some form of deism, they probably wouldn't phrase it in that way. I think what you described
How
fits
would they phrase it?
people. Well, because in the fear that people typically have is, what if I lose that grounding for my morality?
So I'm going to become Hitler. Oh no! What if I go fuck my mother?
Things of that sort. What happens to afterlife? They still have that kind of mindset. And
well, it's not going to go anywhere. If it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there. Your belief doesn't change that.
Yeah.
But then there's the
well, but at the end of the day, if it's a belief and it's a religious belief, it's meant to be there without really knowing what the answer is. You believe.
Yeah, and the fear is, and I guess they had this fear while in Islam too. You know, I'm supposed to believe this thing so that I can go to heaven and avoid hell. But now if I'm rejecting Islam, but maybe that concept is still true, but it's a different God, different religion. So I still need to worry about pleasing God or whatever, worshiping God.
Yeah,
that's the other way they say it too. Like, if I'm not worshiping God Allah anymore, who am I supposed to worship?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you grow up with a kind of pieces of your environment having a specific shape and are placed in a specific place. Like, you're used to certain furnitures being in certain places, and now as you're transitioning, where are they going to be? You assume that they're supposed to be somewhere, and so someone who's thinking in terms of these ideas probably would be easier to jump to Christianity.
So let's say it another way.
Other religion, but not to atheism.
Yeah, so let me ask you this question. Present the issue a different way. The person who asked this question in this way, especially with the but part, I'm thinking of leaving Islam, but before I decide what should I believe instead, you think that kind of person is already like kind of set on religion and God, and they're not even considering atheism or deism or...
Well, if you have someone asking what should I believe, they probably already have that mindset that you should be believing something. And when you look at atheism as it's typically classified, it's a lack of belief.
Yeah, except it's really weird and not true. I have lots of beliefs.
Right. But when we're talking,
let's clarify that for people.
Yeah. So when thinking about atheism as something defined in relation to religion, it's lack of belief in God. That doesn't mean that an atheist doesn't believe anything. It's just that when you're talking about God specifically, you're not believing in God.
If you want to like count the number of beliefs, I think I have more beliefs in number than any person that has a religion. You know what I mean?
Possibly.
And I guess let's clarify this. A lot of people try to say, no, what we do in science, those are not beliefs. Belief is faith. I think that's a confusion of semantics, because if you just look at the way we use this word belief and believe, like, I believe my daughter came home today. You know, that is a belief. It doesn't mean I gained that belief by faith. So it's weird to me that people try to link up belief with faith. So my point is, you can have belief through a method called reason.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's an issue of semantics when it comes to that, and it's not really talking about the essence of what's meant in this case, especially when it comes to a belief in God. Because supposedly, when you're talking about a belief in God, you're not seeing God, you're not experiencing God directly, unless you claim that you have direct access to talk to him, like people who say, I'm able to pray to God and God talks back to me. Some people literally say that, but some people say that the conversation is in a kind of a way more symbolic, more abstract, more indirect. But in that case, when you're talking about belief in God, you're assuming that you have a certain belief, and there is a certain minimum of evidence that is not shown to you that should be there if you would typically believe in something, but is not there. That you're believing despite the lack of evidence.
So I think part of the thinking here too is this kind of person that asks, I'm thinking of leaving Islam, but what should I believe instead? I think they're also the type of person they want to have these beliefs and not have to reconsider them and just put it away and move on with their life. And what we're doing, what we offer them is, well, every one of your beliefs should be ready to be changed and improved to something better.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. Every single claim I learned from physics, I'm ready to change it to the next best thing. I already know it's coming. That's how we all think in physics.
Right. I don't want to describe this in a kind of a way that might be like a kind of a blanket description of religious people, but I think religion in general is a way to be able to feel lazy about certain beliefs. That you get
I thought you were going to say a different word. I thought you were going to say, I thought you were going to talk about certainty. I want to have my beliefs and be certain about them, so I don't have to worry that they're wrong and have to question it constantly.
Well, in a way, it actually connects with what you're saying, because when you have religious belief, you have this kind of higher authority that's dictating what you need to believe, what you can or should believe, and you don't have to actually examine anything once you commit. Once you commit.
I say that I guess you predicted I was going to complain, because in this stage right now, this person who's thinking this, I'm thinking of leaving Islam, what should I believe instead? They're in the state of doubting their beliefs and changing them and picking another one. What makes you think you won't be in that same state next week or next year? They want to switch to the other state of, I have my beliefs and I don't want to think about it anymore.
Yeah. And I'm sure many of those who would pose this question in this particular way think that there are certain aspects of religion that they want to preserve in some kind of way, and they
think religion, or at least the religion they're in right now, has a monopoly on those moral issues.
Right. And they think, okay, I see a different set of beliefs, system of beliefs that retains some of this, but has a different take that does not have those negative aspects that I see right now in this current religion.
Okay.
And so they're thinking, okay, how do I preserve these and get rid of those negatives? And so they start shopping around for something that's going to fit that.
Shopping is interesting.
But
let me add another angle now.
Yeah.
Atheism seems depressing. And I'm speaking from their point of view. I'm not depressed, and atheism doesn't make me feel depressed. But these people who are thinking like this, not necessarily all of them, but there's a huge category of them. Atheism is depressing. I want to pick a religion that doesn't make me depressed, or that, you know what I mean? Like, or depressed might not even be the right word, but let's use a word here that people associate with all this. Nihilism, which is the concept that life has no meaning,
right?
Something like that. And there's different variations of it, and people will say nihilism is different things. And they say that atheism equals nihilism, and that can't be good for me or whatever. So I need something, a belief system that gives me anti-nihilism, something that isn't nihilism. What's weird with this, though, is it's not true that atheism equals nihilism. Not all atheists are nihilists. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see the issue with people who might be transitioning from religion into atheism. And I've seen that, unfortunately, and I've even seen the really destructive aspects that might come with that. They actually do feel that loss of meaning all of a sudden, and can go into, Albert Camus, in his book about the myth of Sisyphus, he's talking about meaning and the loss of meaning, and he considers, from his point of view, the most important philosophical problem is the problem of suicide. Is life worth living or not? This was written at the time of World War II, so you can imagine that someone who's from France, experiencing Nazi occupation and so on. So there is a kind of a loss of meaning in that sense. And so this idea of going from religion into atheism does bring with it this kind of threat. I'm going to be living without any meaning, or to translate it more accurately, I'm going to be relying on myself, on my fellow humans for meaning, rather than seeking meaning in something larger than myself, which is basically one of the attractions of religion. That you're basically going to be merging with that something that's larger than you, and getting your meaning derived from it.
I saw a movie, I think is very relevant to this. And I didn't understand, I don't think I fully understood what I'm about to say until I reflected about the movie later. I wish I could remember the name of the movie. Maybe somebody can help. But here's the setting. It's a little bit in the future. The whole movie is on a spaceship that is going from Earth to Mars. I think Mars. Might have been a different place. I don't know. I think it's something like Earth is lost or whatever, and we have to leave. And this is one of many spaceships that is going to this other planet. And it's a very long trip. Not so long that it's multiple generations of people, though. And the spaceship somehow lost its route and is not going to make it to the planet. And it's going to go infinitely to wherever, not the planet. It's just going to keep going into space. But the leaders of the ship didn't want to tell everyone that, because they thought they would all commit suicide. Okay. Now, people started to figure it out anyway and knew something was up. And people were committing suicide anyway, And then the last scene of the movie is so fucking depressing. It was like 2 million years later. The spaceship is still going. Nobody's alive anymore. It was very jarring watching this movie. And it seems now, the thing I learned from it, or the thing I reflected on and figured out later, was this seems to be a movie where the author is trying to give us a picture of what the entire human existence is, even now, except, I mean, we're on a spaceship that's 8 billion people. In this spaceship, it's like a few hundred people,
Yeah, I would claim that this movie is probably projecting the fears of the maker rather than depicting what would in reality happen. I think that humans are more tenacious than that, and they have a really good ability to deny reality and to form a new form of reality based on whatever it is that they have. So let me give you an example. If you look at prophets that make prophecies, and they have cults of people following them that have made such a big commitment. Okay, the world's going to be ending at 5 p.m. on so and so date, and so everybody gets invested in that, and then when the date comes and goes and nothing happens, they don't all of a sudden say, "Oh, the date has come and gone, and we're going to stop believing that." No, that actually makes them believe even more that this is going to come and it's going to happen, and they start rationalizing what happened in order to persist in that kind of illusion. So imagine that you have this kind of ship that has connected its that everyone on it has connected their fate to this single purpose, or have been thrown into that single purpose, they're going to persist in that. Life is far more tenacious than just that it turns out that we're not going to go there. Let's go kill ourselves. I don't think that's going to be
It wasn't a mass suicide. It was people doing it individually, one at a time.
right. No, I understand, and I'm sure that there are people who would do that. I'm not saying that this is not going to happen. What I'm saying is that this is probably not going to be the prevailing thing.
I think my mom's saying the name of the movie is Space. Is that what she's saying?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Let's see.
I mean, the premise that you mentioned sounds a little bit familiar, but it's a little bit generic for me. I've seen plenty of movies that have something of that type.
Arlet up north says, I think if atheists want more people to not jump to another religion right away, they should provide a space to decompress with a group that has a set meeting every week, and community will help. So, by the way, I've spoken to somebody who studies this issue, and she said many groups like that pop up, and they do well for like 10 years. And then the people that got in early have like moved on in their life and don't need it anymore. And then the new people that come in aren't really able to interact right and in a proper way with the people that are bored of it. And if you think about it, that happened in all these little communities we've been in. Like, didn't that happen in your community, Shabake, which was for Arab atheists?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the early group all already moved on. They're bored of it. They've already done it. They've already did all the things they need to do to like shift from the religious thinking to atheist thinking. And now they're not really in it anymore. And any new people might be coming in. They don't really connect, the veterans and the newbies.
Yeah, there are many things that can be said about that, including this kind of rehabilitative function that these communities are supposed to do. There's also that sense of community that maybe the commenter is probably referring to, where if you want to look at what attracts people to religion, one of the things that attracts people to religion and keeps them religious is community.
And to be specific, it's local community in a local building, you know, not like an online community.
Yeah.
Not a Discord, none of that shit.
No, it's possible to extract some aspects of that in online community, but I don't think it's the same thing. There is something that's different there, because you have the ritual, you have the chanting, you have the interactions that happen within the community itself, and so I'm
brainwashing parts.
Well, yeah, that
or hallucination parts, the hallucinating effects.
But there might also be something else about this, which is a kind of a stereotype that is mentioned about atheists, that putting atheists in a community is like herding cats. You can't actually put them all in one community. Eventually, they're going to each find their own way, because eventually, when you think about what atheism is as a kind of a leaving of religion, as a leaving of this kind of institutionalized way of thinking, you try to take those people who have left religion and find their own way, and then you're trying to put them in a different framework that might not always work in that sense.
So what I've seen works, or I'm not even sure I'm saying that right, but what I've seen people do, and I'm guessing this applies to theists also, is, you know, you join a community that isn't centered around a belief in God or lack of belief in God. It's centered around an activity like rock climbing or hiking. And they make these little communities, and they go on these hikes and rock climbing and as a group.
Yeah.
And, you know, online they're organizing to do it and go together. And
yeah, so I've actually been part of the ex-Muslims of North America chapters actively in that sense for a while, and you actually do end up organizing meetings, just going to a restaurant, going on a hike, doing things with like-minded people without the focus on the religion itself or the leaving of religion, which is going to come up inevitably as people are bonding, but it's not the focus. It's not like this is the purpose of the meeting, and it's nice for people who enjoy it. I personally, I would prefer people who would be engaging with content. Uh, yes, the activities can be fun, but for me personally, I would.
You're saying you want an intellectual you want an organizing around intellectual things.
Yeah, yeah. So if you look at a typical mosque on Friday and what people are doing there, um, have you experienced that, by the way?
Yeah, I've been to the mosque many times
Right,
as an adult. You know, I was a Muslim until 32 or 33,
right.
and before that, I was going to the mosque. Yeah, and I remember, and I enjoyed it. I didn't think of the community aspect. I didn't really want to talk to people and make
Yeah,
friends with them or
yeah,
whatever. I was getting the moral lessons, but what I noticed was there's a lot of repetition. Like I heard this speech already.
yeah,
Why do I need to hear it again?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was going to talk about
It's like 8 lessons and they just cycle them.
the social aspects of this. Personally, if I want to talk about my own experience, I hated the whole thing. I hated the socializing. I hated the sermons. I hate the prayer. I didn't like the whole thing. I was just going there because the family is going there. That's it. In any case,
Tell me what you hated about the sermons.
well,
Was it just too dumb for you? It's like obvious to you?
no, it's not that. The the real engagement phase coincided with my own
Reading on your own.
maturity level, where I can actually start looking at what this kind of what kind of nonsense is this guy talking about. Like I'm not talking about this anymore from the perspective of someone, oh, that's a very nice lesson, let me actually think about that and internalize it. No, I'm looking at it critically now, and I don't like what I'm hearing. Plus,
Okay.
of course, the monotonous kind of pace. This is not someone who is doing this pedagogically. This is someone who goes on the pulpit and starts preaching to people. Maybe he has certain ideas he wants.
So this was overseas in Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you had a worse version. I had for me it was in the US. So you could say the sermons I got were diluted, and maybe what was given was stuff that I didn't think was bad. I mean, for example, they weren't saying beat your wife, and they weren't saying stuff like that. I don't know that anyone says that anywhere.
Oh, they do.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they do, definitely.
Okay.
They're not going to put it in that kind of blunt way, especially today. But it is said, and if you go back, I don't know, 50 years ago, you would have heard it so openly being said. So I've never been to a mosque in the US. I have no idea how this works, so I have no way of judging what kind of experience you had. I was just talking about the kind of socializing that happens. You have the people meeting together who might be friends, talking to each other afterwards and before. You have vendors, so you have a kind of a mini market outside.
Really?
You have beggars. You have all sorts of things because you're supposed to be giving charity. So that's a good thing to have. So it's you'll have these people asking for money. You have people asking for donations to build a new mosque, or even to support jihadists somewhere. So it's a kind of a mix of several things. I didn't enjoy any of it. I found it. I actually disliked Friday because of it. It ruined part of the weekend because Friday was for us.
So this is off topic. If you can bring it back to the topic, if you have something to say, but I'm gonna just ask. So how many Friday sermons did you go to with this attitude of you don't like it before you finally said, I'm not going to these anymore?
Well, I was going there again for for the family. It had nothing to do with my own interest.
So it was
So
more to shut your parents up.
I'm sorry.
It was to shut your parents up. You didn't want to hear their nagging.
Yeah. Well, not exactly that. I didn't want to just cause distress.
Okay, fine. That's a nicer way to say it than the way I said it.
Yeah, but
Distress on them or you?
I would say on both sides.
Both sides.
Because
okay, so I said one angle, you said the other angle. Okay.
Yeah, because this would have lasted from, I don't know, the age of 13, 14 until I was in my early 20s, something like
so
that.
So from 13, you knew you didn't like what you were hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I at that time it wasn't as specific. I just found it boring and uninteresting and objectionable in many different ways.
Okay, so let's bring it back to the topic like this. You were 13. When did you like officially leave, or do you kind of have a clear leaving date?
Yeah, so I would more or less put it at around the age of 19, 20.
Okay, so we're talking 6 years in a middle transition phase, would you say?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're disagreeing with the sermons, I would say you're already questioning and thinking maybe this is all bullshit.
No.
Not yet.
I wouldn't go that far.
How did you reconcile the two then? At 13, how did you reconcile, I don't like these sermons, but you're not really questioning the religion?
Yeah, that this was like the prayers themselves, that this was a religious duty, that it's something that you have to do. It's a kind of a duty.
Did you see it as a flaw in you for not liking it?
No, I just didn't think of it as a kind of a the way I viewed it is that, okay, it's a duty that I have to do. It's boring, but doing it is going to give me the benefits, the eternal benefits that are supposed to be given.
Okay,
that's it.
I could see it being like that at 13, but then I could see it soon afterwards. I don't know how old you were. It was 19 before you finally left, but at some point you must have been thinking, well, if it's shit for me, what's it like for the other guys? Do they like it? Are they like you?
Yeah.
So you thinking like that?
So I wouldn't be socializing with people other than my actual friends, and my friends, they were like, we're talking about teenagers. So some of them were open-minded. Then they would have a back and forth. But we would never actually even discuss that. It was so uninteresting that nobody would really go into.
And let's remind everyone, this is before the internet, so it's not like you could go online and see what other people were thinking.
Yeah.
You were only able to talk to, let's say, other 13-year-olds. You probably, I'm going to take a guess, you weren't willing to discuss anything with like adults.
Oh yeah.
But maybe with other 13-year-olds?
At 13-year-old, I wasn't actually consciously engaging with criticism of religion. It's a completely different time, completely different environment. It's just that there was a kind of a subconscious detachment that was taking place, and that didn't mature and become conscious until I was maybe 16, 17. And then I was then actively saying, okay, I'm going to be skipping this time. I'm not going to go. I'm just going to stay at home.
Okay. So let's bring it back to the topic. Still, I guess I still didn't connect it. During your transition phase from 13 to 19, let's go back to that the main question is, I'm thinking of leaving Islam. So the first time you thought maybe Islam is not the truth and maybe I'll do something else, I'm guessing you didn't have but what I should hurry up and find something else quick.
Yeah, no.
Before I can jump the ship.
Yeah, I never at any point considered any other religion. There was no time where I thought, well, I see my Christian neighbor, they seem to have a nicer belief. Maybe I should start thinking about that as an alternative. No, that never.
I don't know how it was for you, but for me, when I left Islam, I don't remember thinking, well, then what else is it?
Yeah.
I didn't even think of the idea that there's no God yet. I just thought Islam is nonsense.
Well, actually, for me, it was slightly different, again, because of ignorance due to the lack of knowledge. So we're talking about the late 1990s. So this is a while back. And so what happened was that I stopped believing in God first, and then completely detached from Islam. So
Wait,
Muhammad,
that's confusing.
yeah, I know. Because this is completely,
Sounds like cart before the horse.
yeah, because the problems that I started having about Islam had to do with attributes of God, with justice, especially justice and accountability, and how this actually works. It did not make any sense at all. So it started from that, but the person of Muhammad for me stayed something sacred for much longer after I have completely said this cannot be true. So
Explain that more. I'm still don't understand it. How do you get rid of the God belief, but you haven't gotten rid of Islam yet?
so when you grow up in an environment that venerates Muhammad so much, you basically let's make an
So were
analogy.
you playing around with theories like, okay, maybe Muhammad was a good dude and he made a fake Islam to help us? Is that
No,
what?
no. It was so hard for me to actually even conceive that he might have been confabulating things, or that he was lying. Because at the time, you have to be aware that we did not get exposed to aspects of the Islamic history that are now common knowledge, that would incriminate someone, and would or it would even have the events presented but not judged in that way. They would be twisted and rearranged in different ways that completely present the whole thing in a positive light. And so the person of Muhammad was something that's very hard to get rid of. Bear in mind now that Allah was not a person, and so with Muhammad, it's much easier to identify as another human being. And so I think there was that kind of last connection that was there to persist for a very long time after Allah himself was basically decommissioned for me. Muhammad himself was it was hard to judge him as an immoral person, mainly because I didn't have the information to do that judgment. It was,
Well, also the propaganda around him. Like I remember hearing he was the most honest one.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I remember in my thinking that statement held some weight and was doing things,
exactly,
you know.
exactly. That's exactly the point, and that's how it is with every Muslim. So if you look even today at how blasphemy is treated, you can blaspheme against God, and if you repent, that's fine. You can be given the 3-day period of time to repent, and then you essentially would walk free. But if you do the same thing against Muhammad, you can repent, and then you're going to be killed, because basically there's a kind of a,
Wow,
yeah. So it's a different kind of treatment.
it's really weird. It's almost like you're worshiping Muhammad more than God.
And that's exactly how it is. That's exactly how it is.
And isn't that why some people came up with the term Mohammedism?
I don't know. I mean, it's not something that's popular, but if you go back to the 19th century, many of the people wouldn't call Muslims Muslims; they would call them Mohammedans, which it still makes sense. It's just that the Muslims
Well, if you go even further back, Muslims themselves, didn't they just call themselves believers?
yeah, if you go back to the very early community, then the in the Quran itself, people did not call themselves Muslims. This is something that came much later.
When did the term Muslim start?
You can find the term Muslim in the Quran, but it's not used in that kind of community sense that we have afterwards. So the word Islam and Muslims is used in its actual meaning, where it's meant as submitters, people who submit.
According to Google AI, yeah, it's in the Quran, but it wasn't the common designation until the 8th century.
Yeah, that's correct.
And we don't really know when the Quran was written down. Maybe that was written down 8th century.
Unlikely. I mean, there are people who still hold that that view. I believe I forgot his name. Shoemaker. His last name is Shoemaker. Is one of the people who still hold that it might have been formulated at the time of Abdul Malik. There are things, many indications that this is actually not the case. But at the time of Abdul Malik, it was finalized and re-edited. That's definitely something that we know. But to say that it was written then, probably unlikely.
So this person is disagreeing with you. We already explained why this is wrong, but maybe you want to elaborate. He says, or she says, Aneen says, Muslims don't worship Muhammad. They worship Allah alone, but the evidence shows otherwise.
I mean, you can say that as much as you want, but when you have verses that specifically say that you're supposed to obey Allah and the Messenger, and then you look at what happened after the death of Muhammad. If you look at the Quran itself, the Quran is not a book of instructions. You cannot actually extract anything from it. You have to go to the Sunnah, to what Muhammad was doing. And Muhammad is supposed to be the best of all humans that ever lived. So to say that worship has to be bowing down to Muhammad, no. But when you're doing anything like the Shahada, you're actually putting Muhammad alongside Allah with in saying that. So you cannot say that you're a Muslim unless you agree that Muhammad is so and so. So and you claim that in that Shahada that Allah is praying or praising Muhammad. What on earth does that even mean? So
so even if it's true that we're supposed to worship Allah, not Muhammad, but then Allah is worshiping Muhammad.
Yeah, I mean, from a technical point of view, you can say, Allah is the only God in Islam, and that's it. That was the end of it. Yeah, technically speaking, this is how it is. But when you look in practice, that's not how Muslims behave.
And then you mentioned the blasphemy thing about the punishment for blasphemy. If you blaspheme against Allah, you have a chance to not be killed. If you blaspheme against Muhammad, immediate death penalty. Where is that coming from?
That's also a subsequent kind of jurisprudence verdict that was passed on later on. I'm not sure when exactly, but it's not going to be something.
So it wouldn't be Quran, it would be Hadith?
Well, it might be based on something of that sort, but it's not going to be directly spelled out there. What the justification that they might have for something of that sort is that Muhammad needs to have someone to stand for his name, for his honor, compared to Allah, who doesn't, which is actually a little bit paradoxical, since you can see people today fighting in the name of Allah, which is a little bit weird. Does Allah need someone to defend him or what? But
well, Allah might get very upset if everyone starts believing in him. His feelings will be hurt.
Yeah. Well, that's a continuation of that vision of the Jewish God, who, if you look at the Ten Commandments, you can see that he's a jealous God, and he does not want you to pray to anybody except him, and so on. So it seems to be a very emotional God who has a very fragile ego and should not be broken.
Let's ask the audience. Maybe we should have done this right at the beginning. If you're questioning leaving Islam or another religion, do you feel like you have to have a replacement before you leave? Or are you okay with leaving and then worrying about potential replacement later? Maybe we should have done a poll.
Well, let's actually still think about the question itself, because when you're thinking about an alternative, it means that uh, you are already thinking about leaving the religion, obviously, but at the same time, it might be that part of the reason why you're thinking about leaving is because you see something else that you want. And basically, you're stuck in the middle between wanting this and fearing to leave this, and you're basically trying to resolve a dilemma because of this.
All right. So where should we go from here? I don't have any more thoughts about this particular topic. By the way, somebody asked you where you are in. Where were you in Jordan?
Well, it's in the capital, in Amman.
That makes sense. The big city.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I lived in more than one place in Amman, but it's in the capital itself.
All right. Well, we're 45 minutes in. Nobody called in. I think we did the topic. Is there anything? Are there any nuances we haven't discussed about this topic?
Let me actually highlight one of the comments here. So let me see. It's not working for me, but maybe you can do it. The last one that is by Anin, that's talking about moving. Yes, moving from Islam to Christianity is moving backwards. So obviously, this is from the perspective of a Muslim. I don't necessarily think that moving from Islam to Christianity or from Christianity to Islam is moving backward or forward. That's the whole point in talking about this from the perspective of someone who might be feeling distress or unhappy about their own belief, and they want to switch over. And it's something that happens both ways.
Well, by this logic, it seems to be just chronology. Christianity is older, Islam is newer. Islam says things about Christianity being the first thing, and Islam is fixing it. So then, by this logic, we can say, well, if I was a Muslim and I'm going to, let's say, Baha'ism, since Baha'ism is newer, it's moving forwards.
Well,
the forwards or backwards isn't the issue. It's towards the truth or not.
Yeah. Well, the Baha'is are not large enough to start making claims about the monopoly over truth. But Muslims and Christians are, and so that's exactly what it is.
How many believers you gotta have before you reach that level?
Exactly. It's numbers. It's purely numbers, and the kind of momentum that you have in behind them historically.
So this person is clarifying their statement. Going from Islam to Christianity is going backwards. They said it's because the reasons given in objection to Islam can be used in the same way against these other religions. Well, then it's not forward or backwards. It's parallel, equal, same level. Lateral. It's not moving forward or backward. It's just moving laterally.
Yeah, and Islam is built around this idea that it has a monopoly over truth, that it's superseding everything else. So any Muslim, I mean,
the others do too, though, right?
Yeah, but probably through the polemics that they had with Muslims or in connection with that, because so when you're looking at something like Christianity, in order to get salvation, you have to believe in Jesus Christ, that he died on the cross, etc., all this kind of stuff. So there is a kind of a monopoly that they have over there from that perspective. But then when you're looking at Islam came after Christianity, knowing that thing about how that monopoly is created in Christianity, and so created a kind of a super monopoly that no, Christianity is wrong because of this and this, three gods in one, and all sorts of things that I mean, if you're a believer, you can believe whatever you want at the end of the day, whether you believe in
flying donkeys and
yeah, I mean, it's really amusing when you start seeing people from one religion criticizing another religion, when all of them are going to be standing on basically quicksands.
Yeah, I mean, it gets hazy though with some other things that happen to also have the name religion, but don't have a God belief, because I think those exist. I don't know, they deserve the same name, but the point is, we mean religions that have one God, or are we also including religions that have many gods, like Hinduism?
Yeah, yeah, and also to some extent Buddhism. You can also find in Taoism there are certain principles that don't actually identify as God, but still have some kind of a religious nature to them.
Well, so this person says, it clarifies or whatever, you can mock, but you are left with no answer to the fundamental questions in life. Yeah, but your answers are wrong. So, like, I don't want to replace, like, I don't need to keep the wrong answers. And not having an answer isn't worse than having a wrong answer.
Yeah, so being proud of having a kind of an answer that you have been inheriting one generation after another does not necessarily mean that you have something that's closer to the truth than someone who is saying, okay, what you have has these flaws. Let's start over. Let's start actually examining these questions. That examination of the questions removes the burden of being tied to that tradition and lets you start building something from scratch.
They asked the same person, having a wrong answer can be better from a pragmatic standpoint. What the heck does that mean?
Well, they continued. Go to the next comment they made.
There are practical benefits to believing in these questions being answered. But they're wrong answers. What's the practical benefit?
Going to heaven instead of going to hell.
But if they're wrong answers, that fact is wrong.
It doesn't matter that what you believe in your inside you. That kind of belief is basically your world. If you believe that if you do this or that, you're going to hell or not. Oh, they're saying that this is not.
Somebody else said, "What is this show? Guys, get a life." So this show is called Deconstructing Islam. It's for the purpose of helping people who are struggling with Islam and for helping the outside world better understand our struggles. That question, what is this show, plainly answered now. The second part, get a life, guys, get a life. So I guess what he's seeing as what we're doing isn't a life. What we're doing is shitty, I guess.
But he's watching us, which is great.
Well, I don't know, but like, why are you here then? I'm enjoying myself. If you watched the stream so far, I laughed a few times. I'm enjoying myself, and the other people that are here want to be here. And what is a life if this isn't the life?
And they seem to also be enjoying themselves if they're here.
Oh, here we go. We got some more answers. Ineen says one of the practical benefits is it improves your longevity. I don't know what that is.
Let's follow a lie in order to improve longevity. I can take alcohol to forget if I want. That's also a benefit for alcohol. Does that mean that I should be drunk all the time?
Well, I don't know what you mean by that. Alcohol isn't necessarily good for you. They clarify mental well-being. My mental well-being is good. I don't need wrong answers to make it better, or what?
Yeah. So they're obviously referring to some studies that are showing religious people have overall a better well-being and are able to live longer. But at the same time, you can go and look at places like Scandinavia, and you have metrics for happiness that are higher in certain senses than more religious places. So that's
it's an unfair metric, because if you say, look, atheists are more depressed than religious people, well, a lot of the atheists are getting abused by the religious people. So the cause of their mental stress is the fucking religious people.
Yeah.
Who believes in God by heart? He never converts. Please understand you are leaving God or God is leaving you. What is this saying?
Okay, I think I'm going to repent after this comment.
Huh?
I'm going to repent after this comment.
Oh, it worked on you?
Yeah, it's magic.
And he says it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that believing in religion better equips you to deal with the suffering in life. Well, I don't believe it does. And by the way, I think it's like when you say it doesn't take a rocket scientist, you're being mean there. Like if you were saying we were mocking before, this is mocking us right now.
Well, I can actually claim that this is not necessarily true. When religious people um, feel that this is a better way of handling suffering, it means that, yeah, suffering is fine. Let's actually let God deal with it, and we're not going to be doing anything about it. That's actually a very escapist kind of way. I prefer the humanist way that's going to put the responsibility on humans to see if they can alleviate the suffering instead of just believing that, oh, there's going to be some kind of a super being that will handle all this. So, no, I don't think this is true.
They said more. It's been shown scientifically to be better than nihilism, it being religions, I guess, on the key questions of life. So I think right there they're implying that atheism and I guess deism also implies nihilism. I don't agree with that.
Well,
I have
it's
plenty of meaning in my life.
well, it's like when you go to someone who is terminally ill and you give them some kind of an illusion that's going to prolong their life. Yeah, it might do that. It might alleviate some of the suffering by living in an illusion. But at the same time, this means that it's going to be creating a kind of a lie. Whenever you start anything that's going to be built on a lie, there has to be an issue that's going to give somewhere.
I think there's an implication that all suicide is wrong all the time in every single circumstance. I don't agree with that. If my life is shit enough, I'm ready to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Now, it's not shit yet. It might be when I'm 90 and I can't walk and I can't do the fun things in my life and all my loved ones are dead, then maybe I will do it. But that's reducing my longevity, but it's a better fucking thing. If I last another 10 years because I refuse to commit suicide because I might go to hell, that's ridiculous.
Or if you want to do the kind of religiously sanctioned suicide, you can also think that this is going to take you to heaven.
Wait, there's religiously sanctioned suicide?
Yeah, I mean, you can say that they want to martyr themselves in that sense, and so they would go where.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Murder suicide.
Yeah, that's.
Oh shit! I didn't get there. I needed help with that one.
If that's not nihilism, I don't know what is.
That's like saying the only meaning in life. Wow, so it's cutting out other meaning. So adopting Islam, or at least this version of it, this way of thinking, it gives you meaning, but stops you from having other regular meaning. Like, making a family and enjoying a family. Yeah. It takes that away from you.
Yeah, you have to remember that the typical view that you have in Islam is that this life by itself is meaningless, that the entire meaning that you're getting out of life is going to be the afterlife. And so all you have to do in this life is to just behave as a religion expects you to behave in order to be able to get the proper life that you would be getting after death.
There is certainly a God. Your denial won't change that. Okay, let me repeat that back to you, but in reverse. There is certainly no God. Your denial won't change that either.
Well,
and it's get rid of certainty altogether. We don't need certainty.
It's also a little bit amusing that this is what we've been reduced to after this. I mean, after all this stuff, this irrelevant statement came up that, okay, now that everything has been said, okay, let's now emphasize that, yeah, there is a God.
It's one of those thought terminating cliches.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably a good way of describing it.
Yeah. It's not a cliche though. Maybe it can become one if more people use it. Right? That's what a cliche is. A lot of people are using it. But at some point, every cliche was said by just one person and nobody before them. You know? It's definitely thought terminating though. Because it's closing the subject.
Yeah.
It's not trying to say, well, here's why I think you're wrong. And trying to push the discussion forward. Anyway. All right, well, we've been here an hour. Do you want to end it here?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the topic itself is very interesting, and I'm sure that there are many things that can be said. But
why don't we do this for next week or whenever we do the next one? Why don't we make it more directly about this last portion that we've been talking about? Meaning of life, nihilism, whatever.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
You want to do that? I wonder if we've done that before. Have we?
I mean, we discussed this probably in multiple ways before, but maybe not in this kind of direct way.
Okay. Back in February of 2025, we did an episode called Spirituality and Nihilism, Conflict, Coexistence, or Cure, Taking Calls. I don't remember what we discussed. Might be worth to go watch that again. That was right after the first series. Sorry. Right after the second series of how to de-indoctrinate yourself. So that was like our first standalone episode.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I don't remember now.
I think I'm gonna go watch it again, and I'm sure this episode would be pretty different.
Yeah. No, it's actually. By the way, I mean, we've had a back and forth, but I'm really thankful for the comments.
Yes, and to Ineen also, and I'm sorry if we offended you or anyone, because you used the word mocking, that we were mocking. I don't want to offend anyone. Did I mean to be mocking? I don't know. Sometimes I laugh at things that I think are funny. Is that mocking? I guess so. I don't know how to stop it. Embrace the truth and come to Islam. Well, how about this? Embrace the truth and leave Islam.
Well, for me personally, it's just an empty sentence, unfortunately, because I've been in Islam and I'm quite happy now that I'm out of it.
Yeah, I was in Islam for 32 years. I mean, if you're counting from birth. Yeah. All right. Well, let's end it here, and we'll see you guys next week.
Okay.
And Asana, please stay on
Sure.
for a moment.